Hey, good morning. I want to talk about Prime. I want to talk about Amazon Prime. See, I became a member of this Amazon Prime a little while ago, and I started ordering things. And all you have to do is just do one click, and you can order it. Gives you shipping address, everything else, and it says 2 days later the package will arrive. And sure enough, along comes the package. 2 days later, comes to your door. I trust Amazon Prime. It does what it says it'll do. Trust really is an experience you get. When things happen over and over again the way they're supposed to, you trust it. If your employer has employed somebody and that person does what the employer asked them to do over and over again, the employer will trust that employee. So trust is kind of an experiential thing. And I can't get this little verse or this little song out of my mind. And it says, His love endures forever. And it's usually sung in church, and it repeats over and over again. His love endures forever. His love endures forever. His love endures forever. But the origin of the song is actually coming from the Bible. And it comes from a book called 2 Chronicles, and it's in chapter 20. And the background of this is these are the people of Israel, the old ancient Hebrews. And a lot of time has gone by. All the big names, King David, King Solomon, all those people have gone. Hundreds of years have passed, and the nation has divided itself into the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Different governments are splitting up, and it won't be long before this nation becomes enslaved and is taken away and scattered across the earth. Well, they all knew the scriptures, both the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. They even knew the words that had been spoken by some of their famous kings, like King Solomon, for example, wrote the book of Proverbs. And Proverbs 3:5 says, Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Well, all these kings that happened after them were leaning on their own understanding. They weren't trusting in God. They weren't leaning on the understanding and the experience they'd had with Him. But this song that's in my head from the book of 2 Chronicles really talks about a king by the name of Jehoshaphat. He trusted God. He trusted God, and yet even when you trust, things can happen, troubles can come, and they came to him. Word came to him that all these massive armies have joined together in the east, and they were coming, and they'd come across the Dead Sea area and across the River Jordan, and were now coming north. They'd reached a place called En-Gedi. Now, En-Gedi isn't very far from Israel. I've been there. But En-Gedi is a place where there's a big mountain range. A big mountain range comes right along the Dead Sea. And to get to Jerusalem, they're going to have to climb up through the mountains, go through the pass, and get into the higher lands and go on to Jerusalem. So when the word came to them, there was no time to form any armies. All they could do is just fall down on their face and pray in Jerusalem, and everyone was doing that. Jehoshaphat reminded God at that time from the experience they've had, what he's done for them and what he's done for their forefathers, that he can trust God. And all of a sudden, one of the young men in the crowd stood up. God had spoken to him and said, God has told me we're not to worry about anything, that we're not even to fight this battle. He's going to fight it for us. All we have to do tomorrow is to go to this pass where they're coming up from the mountains down below and stand there. Do nothing but stand there. And God will do the battle for us. So, fearing God and trusting God, they went to bed that night, got up the next morning, started walking toward this pass in the mountains. And the king tells the people that are marching along to start to sing. What he wanted them to sing was, give thanks to God. His love endures forever. Give thanks to God. His love endures forever. And as they sang that song, God was at work. And in the hearts of the throngs of all the people coming up against them, they all turned on each other because they didn't trust each other, and they started killing each other. And by the time they came to the pass and looking down, all those people had died by their own hand. God had done the battle for them. Hundreds of years have passed, and now Jesus is walking the same lands in the same area, and he has disciples. And the disciples have learned to trust God. They've learned to trust Jesus. He's healed people. They've watched him. The lame are walking. The blind are seeing. The deaf are hearing. The dumb now speak. The deaf now hear. They've seen it. They've seen him feed 5,000 people with loaves and fishes. Wow, what an incredible situation. And one day Jesus takes him down to the boat after along the sea of Galilee and tells him to go to the other side and he'll catch up with him. And he leaves him. And in the middle of the night, the storm comes up. And in the Bible, it talks about the fact that Jesus comes walking out on the water. And then when he gets into the boat, the storm dies down. But why was he walking on the water? Well, we hear about it in Matthew chapter 14. It expands on the situation a little more because they didn't know who this was. The people in the boat were afraid. And they didn't know what they saw walking toward them until Jesus says, "It's me. I'm Jesus. Don't be afraid." One man, Peter, said, "If it's you, call me and I'll come out to you." He says, "Come." So Peter comes out in the boat and walks on the water. There was a reason Jesus was there that day. There was a reason why he was walking in the water. He wasn't trying to impress the waves. He wasn't trying to impress the men that he was a ghost walking in the water. He had a lesson to teach. The lesson was that, one, as mortal people, we can do supernatural things in the power of God. Number two, if we ask and God calls us, we can do anything that he asks us to do. So Peter trusted God and walked out. He didn't last very long because he turned his eyes to the normal things around him rather than the supernatural God who was in front of him and started to sink, and God had to save him. But here's the funny thing. They all knew him. They all trusted him. So why didn't they all get out of the boat and walk? Jesus certainly learned that he could trust Peter. And Peter became one of his favorite disciples, if you will. Had great favor on Peter. So now we come to the heart of this lesson. The relationship we have with God is more important than all the religious words that you read in the Bible. And that relationship is built on trust. It's built on love. If you trust God with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And if you do as he asks, he can trust you to do it. And even when you don't, there's grace and love. He's never going to condemn you. He's never going to hate you. But do the things he asks and he can trust you. And when he trusts you, he'll deposit upon you the power of the supernatural so you can walk on water. You can heal the sick. You can raise the dead to life again. Yeah, it may not be the physical body, but those who are dead in sin, you can raise them to life just with the power of his words. Today, the lesson in trust is this. Trust in God with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Yes, and praise God. His love endures forever. See you next week.